Hello people, welcome to my channel. My name is Kode Adiasora and this is my first video. To get started, we are going to be doing something light. I don't know if this topic is particularly light, but yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to try to unravel the insanity surrounding feminism and the modern gender dynamics between men and women. So, let's dive in. Now, in preparation for this particular video, I have watched tons of content from the left side of the political aisle to the right side of the political aisle. I've watched red pill content, and I don't know if blue pill content is a thing, but I also watched that. I have watched a lot of things, and I must say that I have come to certain conclusions about certain things. The first thing is that people have a tendency for extremism, and the second thing is that in the middle of two extremes, common sense is sure to be found. So let's try and find it. Besides my discovery surrounding common sense and extremism, I've also realized that there's this certain new feeling, if you will, around feminism, which is modern women coming out to say, feminism screwed me over and I can't get behind feminism anymore. I'm no longer a feminist. I do not subscribe to the feminist movement, and yeah, I denounce feminism. And yeah, that's what's been going on. So let's try and make sense of it. In order to make sense of everything, we need to go back to the beginning, because obviously the beginning is always a good place to start. Now, feminism started, I would say, in the late 1700s to the early 1800s. Around this time, there was a very obvious discrepancy between social standing of men and social standing of women. Basically, men had all the rights and privileges, and women had just a lot of restrictions. And feminism was like, exactly what is the requirement to have this freedom and these rights, besides the thing that is between our legs? After having identified a problem, feminism was created to solve that particular problem. Now, fast forward to the 21st century, in most parts of the developed world and in enlightened communities in developing countries, I can say for sure that feminism has accomplished what it set out to achieve. So, the problem we face now as a society is a general misunderstanding of what exactly feminism fought for and the solution that feminism offered, which is female autonomy. Now, you might be wondering and asking me, Kearney, why does female autonomy amount to the problem we face in society? Let me explain. See, I don't have some fancy dictionary definition to give to you off the top of my head, but I can explain it to you as if you were a 2-year-old. So let's get started. Now, I think that autonomy has exactly 3 components. The first one is a condition that you need to satisfy. The next one is a freedom that comes along after having satisfied the first condition. The third one, and the least popular one, is the responsibility that comes along with the rights that you now have. Now, let's start from the beginning. Now, the first condition is a mental competence condition, to ensure that you have the mental capacity to effectively evaluate complex information and come up with rational decisions that directly affect you and maybe sometimes affects the people around you. This is the reason why children can't give consent or have autonomy, because children generally are dumb. Yes, children lack the mental capacity to effectively rationalize complex situations and pick on, and arrive at conclusions that directly affect them. Or at least we can't be sure that they would do that all the time, which is why children don't have autonomy. Now, after having satisfied that first condition, the next component of autonomy is the freedoms and the rights, and the most popular one that comes along with, after having satisfied that condition. And this is the one that people vie for, this is the one that people want, this is the one that people see all the time. Freedom. And yeah, we know what that is. Now, the third one and the least popular component of autonomy is responsibility. And this is the one that most people would like to ignore. I don't think people stay long enough to fully understand this particular part of autonomy, and they just move past it. This is the part where we have the problem, because ultimately what feminism fought for, female autonomy, boils down to personal responsibility. Now, responsibility, you might be wondering, how does this tie into autonomy, and why is this one of the conditions or one of the components of autonomy? Here's the thing. Responsibility, in a way, ensures that your execution of the rights that you now have, having certified that you have the mental capacity to effectively evaluate situations and make decisions, Responsibility ensures that you execute and exert your rights within certain moral parameters to ensure that you do not infringe on the rights of other people. For instance, let's say all humans have the right to life, and say one particular person does not exactly want to have to deal with life anymore, and then they decide to off themselves. Now, there's a number of ways you could go about this particular conundrum they found themselves in. You could open your wrist or take a bath with a toaster. A bunch of other conservative methods that would ensure the job is done. But rather than doing that, said person dons a jacket and goes into the most populous area of their city and detonates. Say, if this does not go off, or if this does not go off properly as he's planned, do you think that the person should be held responsible for their decisions? Of course they should be, because their execution of their right to, I don't know how the laws work in certain parts of the world, but maybe people have the right to end their life, obviously. So his execution of his right to live his life or end it, the way he chose to go about it infringes on the right to life of other human beings around him, so therefore he should be held responsible. That is basically what autonomy is. Autonomy ensures that you have the freedom to make the choices that you want, but also within certain moral parameters to ensure that you aren't infringing on the rights of other people. It's as simple as that. Now, understanding this then gets you to see other aspects of the modern feminist movement in a way that is very different. Now, for old school feminists and feminism, I would say feminism fought for autonomy and it achieved that. Unfortunately, most people don't want to take on the responsibility aspects that feminism fought for. They just want to take the freedom aspect and, let go of the responsibility aspect, which is not reasonable. I mean, wait, here's the thing. Show me a person with all the rights and no responsibilities, and I will show you a tyrant, or at least a Nigerian politician. I mean, they're basically one and the same, aren't they? Okay, let's continue. Now, I think in order for us to move forward with this discussion, I think we should separate the modern feminist movement from feminism itself, because the modern feminist movement is a sector of feminism that has just developed. And this is the part that most people are pissed at. And this is the part that most people have a problem with. Unfortunately, people don't, separate the two, and they just lump feminism in with modern feminism and throw it all away. I mean, we're basically throwing the baby out with the bathwater, in this case, feminism being the baby and modern feminists being the bathwater. I think I can explain why modern feminists and modern feminism is the way it is. Most people see feminism as a continuous solution to all the things that plague the human society, but I don't think that's what it should be. Feminism was created to address one particular issue, and it has addressed that. So I do think that we should allow feminism to rest, and then we can tackle all the other things up. Unfortunately, people identifying as feminists identify as a solution to a problem. Now, what happens if a problem that you're meant to solve doesn't exist anymore? You either let it go or you work to create a world in which you are relevant again, which basically is working to create the problem that you need to solve. That sounds like a villain arc story. I think it is. I think it is. So yes, that's basically what modern feminists are. Modern feminists are afraid of feminism fading into irrelevance. So in order for them to maintain relevance, they work to create a world where feminism is relevant again. Unfortunately, what this does is it triggers a lot of other counter effects, if you will, like the rise of the red pill community, some really extreme views about women, say Andrew Tate and Fresh and Fits. Those people's content I found on YouTube were not exactly pro-women, and they weren't exactly pro-feminist, but they were certainly pro-something. They were pro-something, is what I can say. I think we should start tackling the things that are real problems, which is the modern feminist movement. and the way it has allowed the feminism movement to be taken over by this man-hating campaign, which transforms the feminism movement into a cancer that eats away at its own previous accomplishment in order to create a world where feminism is relevant again. And I will be honest with you, I don't want to live in a world where feminism is relevant again, because that means that all the problems that feminism has solved need solving again, or at least all the problems that feminism has solved have re-emerged. And I don't want to have those kinds of problems in my life. Absolutely not. No. 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 Okay, so let's talk. Now, with regards, there's another part of the modern feminist movement that absolutely pisses me off, and this also would help you understand in a way why the modern feminist movement is a cancer to feminism itself. Now, there's this term that's always going around, which is toxic masculinity. I hate that term because it doesn't even make any sense. It makes no sense whatsoever, besides completely villainizing one half of the human species whilst also absolving the other half of any fault or responsibility whatsoever. Because why would you attach the word toxicity to something that is essentially a part of one other gender? There's nothing toxic about masculinity. There just happen to be men who are toxic, just as there are women who are toxic. But it doesn't mean that toxicity is unique to one gender of the species. But saying that all the time, it makes it seem like it's true, and it's not. People who say toxic masculinity all the time, I don't know, it's like these people don't have the capacity to think deeply. These people don't have the capacity for critical thinking, to come up with any objective points as to why said person is messed up. You can point out why people are messed up in different ways, but just this broad generalization of just one whole gender is massively unproductive. Now, with regards to the women coming out to say the feminism screwed them over and feminism did this and feminism did that, I'm sorry to say feminism didn't do anything to you. Feminism just gave you the right to choose and decide what you would for yourself, and you chose certain things that didn't work out, which is completely okay. You can take a step back, reassess your situation, and then decide on how best to move forward with your life. But coming out to saying feminism screwed you over and feminism did this, that, and all the other things, it makes no sense at all. I'm so sorry. Now, in conclusion, I do think that we can come out and say that we denounce modern feminism while still standing behind what feminism fought for, which is female autonomy. If I came here and told you that I don't think feminism did anything for me and I denounce feminism itself, that would be me denouncing all the rights and freedoms that I have. I mean, I can sit here in my own apartment and do whatever job I want and go wherever I want and buy whatever I want, because I can. That is what feminism fought for. Now, the constellation of the things, the choices that I make for myself are my own responsibility. That is the difference between myself and modern feminists. And I do think that other people should learn the distinction between feminism and modern feminism, I do think they're just totally different things, two different movements that are apart from each other. Now, I do understand feminism is needed in certain parts of the world, but where feminism has already accomplished what it set out to accomplish, there's no need for feminism to be pushed down other people's throats or still forced into relevance. You know, nobody wants to live in a world where feminism is relevant. I don't want to live in a world where feminism is relevant, because that means that the problems that feminism fought and solved are now relevant again, if that makes any sense. I don't want to live in a world where I can't go out of my house. I don't want to live in a world where I can't drive a car, or I can't decide who I get married to, or I can't work and earn my own money. It's not something I want to live in, but if you want to live in a world where feminism is relevant again, that is the world where you have to live in. It's not a solution to everything that plagues the human existence. Feminism is just a solution to one particular problem that faced women, which was their lack of freedom and their lack of autonomy. Now, since feminism has accomplished female autonomy, we should then move forward with discussing how to move forward and improve ourselves as a society. We can say that our society is a shitty one, but unfair as it sounds, feminism did fight for women to have an equal stake in that shitty society. The problem is when, rather than identifying and pointing out the structural defects of the society that we've been allowed into, we start villainizing the other sufferers of the same problems we now endure. Say, pointing at men and saying they are, the reason why the world is the way it is. No, generally men who were just born, say, 50 years ago aren't the reason why the world is the way it is. Maybe the 1% is the reason why the world is the way it is, but that's exactly 1% of the entire human population. Don't villainize all the men in your life just because you want to be a feminist. You can be a feminist who understands that it's a very commonsensical idea for women to have autonomy, but you don't have to be a feminist that thinks all men are bad and should automatically be seen as a villain until they're proven otherwise. That is a very unproductive and unhappy way to live. Yeah, that is all. Tell me in the comments section if I missed anything. Make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. We are going to be talking about all of these social issues that excite me. And sometimes we are going to be shaking several tables, so make sure to stay tuned. I will see you in the next video.